Whenever you want to do budgeting, the most common rule you will hear almost everywhere is 50, 30 and 20. And people say that once you follow this rule, you will be good in terms of your budgeting. But sometimes I feel that this rule is not sufficient at all. Because if you think that people, especially who have gotten the new job or they have just moved out from their parents' house or they have just started their career and their beginning salary is not that much. And at that time when they apply this 50, 30, 20 rule, I don't think it will match. And especially when their income is comparatively low, and if you apply this 50, 30, 20 rule, they will think that they are failing financially. And even though they are in their beginning stage of their career, they will think that they are not doing well. They will get discouraged. They will never think about do budgeting and forget about investing. But you know what? It is not the person. It is the rule that is a big problem. Our earning does not get skyrocketed overnight. Like it takes times, and especially when we are in the earliest stage of our career, we do not have that much more control on our earnings. And this rule of 50, 30, 20 mostly depends on our earnings. If your earnings is too much good, you can easily apply this rule. But in the beginning of the career, it is very hard. So if you are trying to start your financial journey and you are in the first stage of budgeting, and if you think that 50, 30, 20 rule is very much hard for you, I think this video is for you. By the way, if you do not know me, my name is Mayur. I live in Canada, work as an engineer, and I love to talk about money and mindset. In this video, I'm gonna share some unknown facts about 50, 30, 20s, why people are feeling it so much hard, whether it is possible for you at a very early stage. If not, what is an alternative? And in the last, I will share my personal strategy that I use to do my budgeting at the end of every month. So if you are interested, let's start this video. So let's quickly understand what does this 50, 30 and 20 number says. So in order to live our life, we need to do certain expenses, and especially in this era, money is almost everything. So we need money almost at every step in our life. Let's say if you want to live a life, you need to have a house. For that, you need to pay your mortgages. Or if you are living on a rent, you need to pay some rent. You need to have some food. You need to buy some groceries. You need to buy some utensils. You need to go on a vacation. You need to have a car. Similarly, you need to invest some so that you can save for the future itself. And if you divide this all expenses, and how to divide with the accurate percentages, and this rule of 50, 30, 20 comes into the picture. So the first number is 50. 50 stands for the needs related expenses. That means you should allocate 50% of your total income towards the expenses related to the needs. Now, if you see at a very broader perspective, you know that what are our needs? Basically, there are three needs of any human to survive on this earth. First is food, second is clothes, and third is house. All the expenses revolves around these three main categories, goes to your needs. And if we see a very particular example, the needs related expenses, for example, as I mentioned earlier, is the mortgages, it's the rent. In order to survive yourself, you need to have some food, you need to do some groceries. And if you have a car, you need to pay for fuel and gas and insurances. These all expenses that you need for your survival, without which your life will be little bit harder. All expenses goes to the needs category. So let's understand this with a very simple example. So let's assume that your monthly net salary is around $5,000. And I think this is the common number all across Canada. So if we allocate 50% of our $5,000 is around $2,500. So according to this rule, you should not pay more than $2,500 in order to live your life very much easily. That means all the expenses that I mentioned earlier should be within this. So second number is 30%. 30% should go to your wants related expenses. Now these want related expenses are mostly related to fun in our life. And I totally agree that we need fun in our life, otherwise there is no meaning of life. Like we are not here on this earth to do our 9 to 5 job for the 30 years so that we can live our rest 10 or 15 or maximum 30 years of life very peacefully. This is not the way God has sent us on this earth. So we need to have fun in our life too. And according to this rule, it says that you should not allocate more than 30% of your monthly income in this category. Now, if we see the examples of expenses in these categories are, let's say, if you want to go on a dinner, you want to have some pizzas, you want to go on a vacation, any expenses that even if you do not do, you can easily live your life, but you just do it just to have more fun in your life. You can enjoy your life, and you think that by doing these expenses, you get kind of happiness in your life, and that's why you do these expenses. But according to this rule, as I mentioned earlier, you should not expend more than 30% of your monthly income for this. And the last 20% represents the saving and investing. Since we are living into the edge of the inflation where the money is keep losing its value over the period of time. For example, let's say if you can buy grocery for 5 days within $100 today, it is possible that in order to buy the same grocery for 5 days, next year you will have to pay around $100 and probably $10, because the actual value of money is deteriorating so fast, especially in these days. So in order to beat this inflation, you need to have something, and for this, saving, especially investing, can help you, because when you invest your money will work for you. It will bring more revenues, it will bring more returns, and these returns plus investing will keep going on, and eventually over the period of time, at a longer term, your inflation will be beaten by your investment. That's why you need to do investment, especially in this era. And according to this rule, you should allocate 20% of your monthly income. So in our earlier example of having an income of $5,000, according to this rule, 20% of the $5,000 is a $1,000. So we must be investing at least $1,000 every month, so that over a period of time, let's say after 20 or 30 years, we can have a good amount of wealth where we can spend our retirement life very much easily and happily without any financial burden. This 50-30-20 rule has been working perfectly fine for me for almost many years. But let's say in our own example of $5,000, if there is a couple and they have a couple of kids and they have the income of $5,000, do you think that this rule will perfectly work for them? I do not think so. I do not agree that 50-30-20 rule is applicable to everybody, especially to the people who are living paycheck to paycheck, especially to the people who have just started their career and their beginning salary is comparatively low. These people will easily exceed their 50% allocation for their budgeting for the needs related expenses. So this 50-30-20 rule became popular in the year of 2005 when the US author introduced this rule in one of her books. At that time, the inflation and the prices of all stuff was not that much of higher. It was very much easier for almost everybody to follow this rule. But what if we see this in this today's life, 2026? Firstly, just by paying mortgages or the rent, most of the people will exceed this rule, because let's say if a person who is living in a 2-bedroom house, especially in Canada, their mortgage will be around $2,500. And in our case, if the income is just $5,000, according to our old rule, we cannot allocate more than $2,500 just for the whole survival related expenses, where we already have spent more than $2,500 just for the rent, from where we will get money for our foods, where we will get money for our cars. So it is not possible to allocate only 50% these days if our income is too much low. In the same context, we need to have a smartphone in these days to live our life easily. At the same time, we need to have a car, especially if you are living in the North America, because in order to do the daily to and fro to go to a job to buy for groceries, we need to have a car. Otherwise, we will be wasting so many hours in a week just in commuting through the public transportation buses, and it is not feasible at all. So if we are spending more than $2,500 just for the mortgages, if you are having income of $5,000, how are you going to spend all this money for our survivals? We need it for our survival, and there is no alternative option for that. And that's why in these cases, we need to grab money from our want related expenses. And even some people cannot even save money for their investments, like they just live by paycheck to paycheck. If they are earning $5,000, their expenses are more than $5,000. So considering these all points, this is the reasons I feel that 50-30-20 rule does not applicable to all of people. It helps to many people, but it does not help. But here, everybody should consider that if you are starting your financial journey, budgeting is the first step you need to do, and you do not know how much to allocate. 50-30-20 is the great rule to start with. Just allocate this budgeting according to your income and see what numbers you are getting, even though you are spending 60% of your money just for your needs related survival. And if you are not saving anything, at the same time you are supposed to save 20%. Do not worry at all. Just write your all expenses down and see for a couple of months how much percentages you are spending in these each categories. But this will really give you a good perspective about your own budgeting. Where are your money is going? Where are you spending this all money? Now let's accept that we cannot follow this 50-30-20 rule. We are already failing in our needs related expenses, and that is 100% fine. In order to accept our current state, just by accepting our current state, we can definitely move ahead from this. But for that, we need to know the current basic fundamentals of our own finances. As I mentioned earlier, once you write down of your all expenses, let's say at least for 3 or 4 months, you will realize that where does your money go. Whenever you do some expenses, try to divide them into these 3 categories, whether you are doing it for your survival, whether you are doing it for your fun, or whether you are doing it for your investments and saving. And let's say after 3 or 4 months of writing down all your expenses, you are analyzing your needs related expenses. I bet you will find some of the expenses that you can think that you can live without them too. For example, you are buying coffee almost every day when you go to your workplace. Do you think that you need coffee for your survival? I do not think so. Coffee is for your fun. You need to have it for relaxation of mind, and once or twice in a week it is fine. But if you are buying it on a daily basis, you are already spending more than $50 a month just for a coffee. And same goes for the every Friday pizza night too. I definitely agree that we need to have some fun, but we need to have fun in terms of getting experiences in our life. Like eating pizzas every Friday night does not give you any experience, but just you are increasing these your needs related expenses. If you are doing so, you need to move these expenses to your wants related expenses, because you do not need to eat pizza every Friday just to live a life. You can eat some homemade food and you can easily survive your life too. Just by scrutinizing all those expenses for your 3 or 4 months, I can definitely tell you that your need can literally come down up to a certain numbers. And if it is close to 50 or 55 percentages, you are doing a very good job in terms of budgeting. Then the next point is to set up your wants related expenses. See, where are you spending most of your money in terms of having a fun in your life? Are you buying clothes almost every month? Are you going to Costco every week and buying anything that is on a deal that you really do not know? Or you just keep it idle in your house after using it for 3 or 4 months? These are all the wants related expenses that you can really control. And like if you are living paycheck to paycheck, I must tell you that there is no scope of having fun in your life too. Yeah, because once you do not fix your budgeting, you are not supposed to have fun in your life. I'm sorry if sounds very much funnier, but this is fundamentally true things in the financially. And let's say if you are living to paycheck, that means you need those $5,000 just to have fun and survival in your life, and you are not investing anything. It is a big red flag at this point in your life, especially since you are younger, you have started your career, you have a whole life to earn. But in investing, the one rule is that it is very much better if you start earlier, because think of a snowball standing at the top of the hill. If you start it early, it will have more time to earn more returns, and the more returns can bring more returns if you give it more time. Let's say if you are starting your investing journey at 20 years and the other person is starting their investing journey at 50 years, and both people are retiring at the age of 60. If you are starting at 20 years, you have another 40 years to make more progress in terms of your wealth. But the other person who is starting late just have 10 years. Technically, he cannot retire at the age of 60. He will have to still work for another, let's say, 20 years. And by the time the retirement comes, it is probably a chance that that person cannot even survive until he retires. So if there are any alternative, if you are living to paycheck, it definitely yes. If you need 50 plus 30, let's say if you need 50% of your need expenses and your expenses for the survival is more, you can allocate those want related expenses in your need related expenses too, and you can live your life easily. But make sure that whatever expense you do that are really needed for your life, that are really essential for living your life very much easily and peacefully. The bottom line here is that just do those expenses that you need for your survival, and think before you spend for anything. Think, let's say if your internet bill is $75 every month and you do not need that high speed of internet, I would cut that down to some lower speed internet, because you are not even using it. Why to spend extra $25 if you can get a better deal on that? And if you see it at a very longer term, you are saving good chunk of money. And this is how you need to save money in your life too, because when you are in your beginning period, this is where you have time to do some experiments. If you are not careful about your own finances, it can put you in a very tough situations, especially when you are beginner and you are younger. You have a lot of time to play around with your finances. You have a lot of times and ability to do some experiments in your own life. But once you are in a situation, let's say you are getting older in the range of 50s, and if you are still living paycheck to paycheck and you have not set up your own finances, you might be in the situation that you won't be able to retire anytime. So on the screen, you can see my spreadsheet that I have been using to do the budgeting. And this is a spreadsheet made by me, and if you need it, you can comment it to the comment box. In fact, you can make it by yourself too, but I like to put my finances in this way. So if you see over here, I use the principle called 50, 30, 15 and 5, where I allocate 50% of my net income towards the needs, 30% to the investments, next 5% to the charity, and the last 15% is to the wants. But if you see the sequence, it is something else than the 50, 30, 20, because this is the priority for myself. Investment comes first, then obviously the expenses related to for my survival. Third thing, I believe in the charity, because I think that if you are earning something, it's better to do some charity, but this is totally option for you. You should not, I cannot tell you that. And the last goes for all the expenses related to have fun in my life. If you see on the screen, this is my actual income that I might be supposed to get this year based on the prediction from the last year. But on an average, you can say that my monthly net income after the tax is around $6,600 in Canada. And if you are wondering that why I have put income for the May, June to the December, as I said, it is just for the prediction, so that I know at the end of the year I can have around $15,627 still unused after spending all those expenses based on the current prediction. So just for an example, for January, I earn around $7,953. And if we apply the budgeting rule, as I said earlier, I should invest at least up to $2,386. But as compared to that, I invested around $3,238. That means I spend more money in terms of the investment. Whether you should do it or no, it is totally up to you. The reason I did it is that I had some unallocated money from the year of 2025, and I have been trying to invest those money over the period of this whole year. So rather than investing all money at the same time, I am dividing all the rest money that have been remain unused for this whole year. That's why I'm investing little bit more than I am supposed to as per the rule. And the next category is the 50% that I should use for my needs related expenses. And if you see over here, according to my income, I am supposed to spend around $4,000 for my needs. But as I said earlier, I spend around, on an average, $3,200 for my needs related expenses. This money, I need it at any cost. Living in a house, I need to pay a rent. I am owning a car, I need to pay for insurance. I need to pay for the gas. I need to pay for the foods. This is all the survival related expenses, and that I need to do. But that comes at the second category. Third category is the charity. As per the rule, I should be doing charity of $398, and as compared to that, I have only charitated $101. And if we see about the wants related expenses, I am supposed to pay around $12,000 for my fund for January. And if we see over here, I just use only $561. Now you might be wondering that where did this number come from? Like, how do you know this all the numbers with all the digits, let's say 64 cents? The reason is that I write that down, and at the end of this month, I just summarize it. But you might be thinking that, do I write it on a piece of paper? No, I write down all these expenses on an application called Spendy. It is available on the iOS as well as the Android. You can easily download it. You can allocate a hashtag to all these expenses. I just do it in this way. Whatever expenses, I write it down into this application. I apply a hashtag, and at the end of the month, I just see the summary of those 4 hashtags. And this is where this all number came from. So if we see just January month, after spending all the money, after doing all the expenses for my life, whether it is fun, whether it's investments or doing charity, till I'm left with $688. But as I said earlier, since I'm earning a little bit higher than the normal person, I'm able to follow this rule. But if you are in an early stage, you cannot. But you do not need to get disappointed. Just do it. Just know your state and we will work on that. Now let me show you a very fun part of doing this exercise. If you are doing your budgeting, if you know your all the monies for the future plan, you can have one more benefit. Let's say if I want to go on a vacation, and let's say if I want to go Cuba, that is my most favorite destination. It costs me around $1,000 per person. Now let's say at the end of this month is April, I can see over here at the bottom, I have still $2,800 unspent into the category of wants. Even if I do all these expenses as per its predicted amount, I can still have $2,800. And if I decide if I want to go to Cuba, without any second of thought, I will see this number and I can easily apply for the tickets. It's so much easier. Once you know your budgeting, you do not need to think about buying expensive things. If it is under your budget, if it is allowing you to spend it, you must spend it. And this is how we enjoy our life. Rather than doing all the expenses without any traceability, we do not know what are we gonna do. In the end, I can just tell you that whatever rule you see on the internet, whether this 50-30-20 or my rule of 50-30-15 and 5, these are just a tool for budgeting. It is not a cage. It is not something that you should follow and you are feeling suffocated and you feel discouraged so much that you never start your financial as well as the investment journey. Do not take these things very seriously. At the same time, you should apply this principle later or sooner, because this will help you to know your current state about your financial statement. Like, where are you standing as compared to others, because you want to do better than everybody else. And this is the same principle I follow in my life. Before we end this video, I just have one question for you. Let's say if you are having 5% budget that is left and that is unspent by yourself, what would you do with that 5%? Where would you put it, in which bucket? Whether you're gonna invest that 5% in the investment for that particular month, or you're gonna spend that money by putting it into the wants related expenses. Just a question. Make sure you comment in the comment box. And with this, I'm signing off. If you think that I have helped you to enhance your financial knowledge at least by a bit, I would really appreciate if you can subscribe to this channel, and this will really motivate me to make such similar videos. Until I see you into the next time, I really wish you take care and start budgeting. Thank you so much for watching.